What is up, super coaches? It is your super coach sister, aka Ebony, here with the ultimate beginner's guide to NRL SuperCoach. So this guide is all about learning from what I wish I had known or done in my very first season last year and looking to support anybody who's kicking off in 2026 so that they start strong. This video is all around the 5 biggest mistakes I made to start my SuperCoach season in 2025. And I'm pointing out these mistakes so that you don't have to repeat them. Let's take a look at my 5 biggest mistakes. Counting down now with my mistake number 5 is assuming that every good NRL player makes for a good SuperCoach player. There is a difference, and I learnt the hard way. If you want to take, for example, people like Stephen Crichton or Izzy Katoa, who had pretty awesome seasons in 2025 and are usually well known as being great NRL players, these guys just didn't earn SuperCoach points. So based on the structure and what it is that accumulates points, some of what they achieve in a game doesn't perfectly translate into earning points. So don't get sucked into choosing a player just because he is good at NRL. Actually look into their abilities to gain SuperCoach points before locking them into your squad. Mistake number 4, not understanding the difference between how we play for an overall score versus focusing on what they term head-to-head. By now, you may already belong to a league or two, and what you'll notice is throughout the season, you will get put against another SuperCoach player every single week as part of your league. So this is your head-to-head challenge on a weekly basis. So if this is going to be your focus for the whole season and your goal is to simply beat your opponent in your league, the way you would choose to set up your squad and choose your bench players, for example, would possibly change versus if you were simply playing for your overall score to potentially hit the top of the ladder. I didn't really understand the format of the game as I launched into my season, so it took me a long time to work out how to actually beat somebody in head-to-head, even if I had good players available to me. Make sure you have a think about, what do you want to do? Do you want to focus on head-to-head? Do you want to focus on overall? Because that might actually guide the way that you play. Mistake number 3 was not preparing or even taking into consideration the origin period and the major buy rounds. So you'll hear this term a lot, but a major buy round is those weeks in the season where, of course, many teams are on a buy rather than just the one, based on preparing for the demand of state of origin for many of the representative players. Now, what this means is we're obviously left with far less players to choose from if lots of our players in our squad are on a bye in the same week rather than just one team. Not to mention as well the variety of origin players who are missing, not just in the week leading up to their origin match, but often as well soon after if they need a rest. So have a think about, as you're setting up your team, how many players are you putting into your starting roster who you know will likely get a call up to play for the Blues or the Maroons, and just plan ahead. Mistake number 2 was assuming that every position in SuperCoach is of equal value. So what I mean by this is, of course, we have a salary cap, we have a certain amount of money that we need to spread across our whole team, but the mistake is assuming that you should spend as much on, say, a hooker as you would on a fullback. It is commonly the case that the highest scoring positions are halfbacks, fullbacks, sometimes centre wings, but very, very rarely, say, a second rower or a hooker. So you would be wise to actually spend the right amount of money on each of those positions according to the value that you'll get from those players. Last but not least, my number 1 mistake was ignoring the draw or the matchups that the players on my squad were coming into. So for example, if I had a player who was about to face one of the top 4 teams, I might think about not captaining that player. Or if I had one of my halfbacks or fullbacks who was facing up against the team on the bottom of the ladder that week, I might actually make sure I'm starting them and possibly captaining them. Even in terms of the sit versus start, so who's sitting on my bench versus who's in my starting squad, making some of those choices based on who my players are coming up against in the next round of footy. So guys, these are just some of the basic mistakes I was making very early on in my NRL SuperCoach journey. I hope that maybe you can avoid them now that you've had them pointed out to you. But stay tuned for future videos in how to set up your 2026 NRL SuperCoach season well. Thanks for tuning in. If the video has been of any help to you, go ahead and press that little thumbs up button for me, and even subscribe so that you're in the loop for any future videos to guide you through to NRL SuperCoach glory. Have a great week.